Everyone and their cousin also wants to know how fast the car gets to 60 and which cars you can embarrass for a lot less money. What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Fred's Full Throttle. Now that the C8 Z06 is out in the wild, so to speak, today we're going to talk about 3 recent news stories and how they give us more information about the car. I know, for a car-related channel, the last 3 weeks have had 2 motorcycle-related videos. Well, today I'm here to tilt the scales a little bit back towards cars. Before we get into that though, I wanted to say I appreciate those of you who stuck around to watch those other videos. As much as I love cars and making car content, I do think it's fun to branch out a little bit. I'm slowly working to broaden my channel and not just be Corvettes, but also other cars and driving as well. And occasionally that means motorcycles. But I digress. Today is about the Z06 and specifically about performance, so let's dive in. Up first, Motor Trend just released an article about the Z06 being pitted against 2 other serious supercars, the Lamborghini Huracan Technica and the McLaren 765 LT Spider. This hits the Z06 being a supercar statement right on the nose to be compared with such automotive royalty. They do a point-by-point comparison of the 3 cars, looking to suss out which is the superest of them all. While fans of the Z06 are quick to point out that the Z06 is a track car and not designed for drag racing, everyone and their cousin also wants to know how fast the car gets to 60 and which cars you can embarrass for a lot less money. The Z06 dusts both cars to 60 by about 1/10 of a second, owing largely to the large meaty tires and the short gearing. This is an important point for those who want to show off their car, but after you get to about 80, both of the other cars gain on and then pass the Z06, where the power to weight comes more into play. Still, for most of us, any of these cars are going to be a blast to do a launch control in, and that the Z06 is even now being discussed in the same sentence as brands like McLaren and Lamborghini is a testament to all the work that GM put in on this car. When it comes to braking, the Z06 beats out both cars, which is even more impressive to me because the Z is 463 pounds heavier than the McLaren. In the figure 8, the Z slotted in between the 2 cars, posting the second best ever time, which incidentally, that same 765 Spider is the current record holder. But perhaps most telling and interesting to me was their testing around how the cars work as cars to drive around in. Out of all 3, the editors said that only one of them was a car that you could put serious hours in and not be fatigued from the comfort, have a headache from the sound, and that was the Z06. The fact that the Z06 can throw down this kind of performance while actually being comfortable, quiet enough you can hear the stereo, and actually carry some overnight bags in is pretty awesome. That lives up to the mission of Corvette to be everyday usable but offer bleeding edge performance. While ultimately the review puts the Corvette in second place, a lot of it comes down to subjectivity, and even more so, it leaves price out of the equation. At half the price of the Lamborghini and roughly 1/3 of the price of the Big Mac, the Corvette is a relative bargain for the performance it offers. The biggest issue facing the car right now isn't the car itself. It's the ability to get one and how fast GM can crank them out. Up next, and perhaps more entertaining, to me at least, was a video that came out this past week by Hagerty, hosted by Jason Camisa. First of all, Jason is my absolute favorite automotive journalist. His delivery, sense of humor, and deep technical knowledge of driving dynamics makes him a pure joy to listen to. But I digress. In their video, Hagerty pit the Z06 against the 911 GT3 and an R8 Spider, again for a drag race. This video makes a point about each of the cars being their respective pinnacle of naturally aspirated power for those respective engines, flat 6, V8, and V10. The results here are unsurprising to say the least. Though the Vette weighs the most, it also makes significantly more power than either of the other 2 rivals in this race. In short, the Z06 mops the floor with both cars in a drag race. Again, the Z is not meant for drag racing, but that's not going to stop publications from testing it because it's fun. At the end of the quarter mile, the Z06 was almost 6 car lengths up on the GT3 and nearly double that against the R8. For fun, they pit the Z06 against the top-spec Ducati Panigale V4 SP2 piloted by professional racer Josh Herrin. The result here, though, is anything but surprising, with the Ducati pulling the quarter mile in the mid-9 second range. What is surprising is that the Z isn't all that far behind. I remember a decade ago where superbikes and even Lotus placement ones could embarrass every single car with their acceleration. That we're even approaching the point where cars are narrowing that gap so significantly is a testament to how high the bar is now for supercars. The video is immensely entertaining, and I highly suggest checking it out. I'll include a link in the description below. The last story I wanted to cover is a video by Speed Phenom, where he gets time driving an F8 Tributo back-to-back with his own C8 Z06. He does a fairly thorough walkthrough of both cars, pointing out places where they're similar and places where there are some big differences. My, how things have changed. Ferraris of yesteryear used to be the loud, brash, in-your-face cars, feeling a bit unhinged as they screamed along. Now the roles have turned. The F8 is reserved, a bit cold, and very precise. Every aspect seems like it was designed in a lab to extract maximum performance, but at the cost of feeling like it's missing out on some character. Make no mistake though, the car is immensely fast, fun to drive, and Austin makes a point to talk about what a great car it is to drive. I'm taking nothing away from the Ferrari with my points above, but the Corvette does seem to be the star of the show here. Austin takes the owner of the F8 out for a drive and critically points the camera at him for the duration. From the moment Austin starts his Z06, you can see all the expressions that the F8 owner has. He's impressed by the sound, the acceleration, and the theater of it all. What I love about the video is that there's all those unconscious reactions that he has, and he keeps being surprised and impressed by the Z06. From the passenger seat, he comments that the Z feels a bit firmer, a bit more on edge, and that the car feels a bit more raw than the Ferrari. He points out that he was surprised by the feeling of torque under acceleration, and that the lower end of the RPM range pulls a lot harder than he was expecting. Austin saves the most interesting section of the video for last, which is when he lets the Ferrari owner have a turn driving the Z06. His immediate impression is that the car is so much more raw and has a lot more theater. He's impressed with the acceleration, the brake feel, the steering, and the looks and sound. At the end, he compares the interior with an Aventador and how it wraps around you. It's really interesting to hear how much he likes the Z06 and how impressed he is. And Austin points out that his Z06 costs about half what that F8 Tributo costs. Though no validation is needed for the Z06 at this point, it's neat to see across the board it being welcomed and accepted in the supercar world and compared directly to so many amazing cars. To tie this all together, I'm really enjoying seeing the real-world feedback and impressions of the car. It's one thing for a manufacturer like GM to tout figures, going so far as to release a comparison brief about other supercars. But in my mind, that only goes so far. The proof is in the pudding, to see the unbiased and impartial observers reach the same or similar conclusions. It means that Chevy indeed did hit the mark with this car. And I, for one, find that very exciting. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, for out!